Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. Producer extraordinaire. I deserve every bit of respect you can throw my way, especially because I have to deal with this fantastic panel of nerds every week, starting with Matt Bader 74. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here, man. Can't wait. Can't wait to get going. Yeah. That's all I can really say is that I'm here occupying this space in this seat at this time. So other than that, I don't know. We're going to have to see how it goes. Odin just magically appeared between.
Here I am.
Glad you
you like a hurricane.
to everyone who's watching, in all seriousness, so Matt Bader's been experiencing some health issues lately, and it's very, very warming to my heart that he actually pushes through that and takes the time every Saturday to come here and be with us on this panel.
Yeah.
Heartfelt, like he's going through a tough time right now, but we all love you, Matt.
Thank you
for
for
being here.
Now everybody's going to feel sorry for me. Great.
Despite your love for the Monsterverse, I still love you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I do take pity super chats. That's okay.
And he's here. He's queer. He is our defense against all things intersectional and woke. It is Brian from the podcast. How you doing, they, them?
What's happening, brother? Good to be here. Good to be on this panel again. Nice to meet Keanu for the first time. I think I saw a stream of you once where you're getting shot up by guns or something. So
yes, that was
gotta
fun.
bring that up. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, great to see you. I'm sorry about your health problems, Vader. I told you, got to
don't make an issue out of this, man.
Keep your burger intake lower, bro. You can't.
I know.
You can only put so many patties on a burger. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
It's all right. When my jaw hinges shut permanently, I'll have to lose weight.
he's gonna be sucking. He's gonna be blending in and out burgers in a
yeah.
And drop.
And he is the king of the pineapple on the pizza, the lord of the shelves, and the future running mate of Vivek Ramaswamy.
That's right.
Odin from OMB Reviews. How's your best friend doing, Odin?
Wouldn't go that far. I also love how like everyone just started jumping into the chat saying, "Where is he? Where is he?" It's like he could only have been there for like maybe 5-10 minutes, which was still like more than any of us would have expected. So shout out to Benny Johnson for pulling that one off. But again, shout out to Vivek for showing up on Friday Night Tights last night. It was really cool to
I'm
have
really
a former
shocked.
presidential candidate. Like it's just like something. Yeah, I never thought I'd have that happen in my life. You know.
Right.
I'm really shocked that we didn't wake up to headlines that said Ramaswamy appears with right-wing lunatic YouTubers sinking his hopes for a 2028 election.
Yes. That'd be one of the last things I needed. But I will say, as much of that was the highlight of the night, was also I think equally awesome was my son saw my Godzilla -1 poster earlier this week and was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "You mean my movies?" Like I didn't know he was pointing to. So finally I realized, oh, he's actually pointing to the poster. I was like, "That's Godzilla." He's like, "Zilla? What's that? What's he doing?" And then every day since he's been wanting to see it. And so last night, earlier today, we watched the original 1954 Godzilla.
Oh,
he actually
crazy.
watched. He's 3 years old. And so now the whole time he was like, "Where's Zilla? Where's Zilla?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's not really in the film a lot. He's coming, buddy. Don't worry." But yeah, he's a Godzilla fan now.
Good for him. That's great.
It's awesome.
Monsterverse. You're raising him right.
Oh, I'm not letting him watch the Monsterverse. That's for sure.
And breaking up the sausage fest that is Salty Saturday is Keanu Thompson. She's
Well,
both
first of
lovely
all,
and
hi.
talented.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see / meet you all. And Vader, I think you look quite handsome.
Oh,
even though you're
great.
feeling like shit. So
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I wore my Budweiser sweater to try and connect with the men people. So here we are. I'm raring to go.
Nice.
Fantastic. And want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is joining us in the chat this morning. We got Kaladin 910, Super Sticker King Gavin Blackburn. We got Wendy Hunter. Got Nadia. Good to see you, Nadia. We got Anthony Mark. Danny's mom, Penny, of course. She is always in the chat. We got the top gifted sub lady, Jillian N. Thank you for being here, Jillian. Appreciate you. No Money G is in the chat. We got Chappie, Mephisto's movie reviews. We got Mr. Anderson, Dr. Cocho Dragon. I guess he went to doctor school between this stream and the last one. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington is in the chat. We got Mexican Iron Man. Good to see you. Mexican Iron Man, and the Joker's voice is here as well. Quantum Cat 76, Lord Thoth. Guys, thank you all so much for being here today. We always appreciate you showing up so promptly as soon as our stream gets started. You are the reason we do this. We also have a membership goal. So if we can get 10 new members signing up throughout the course of this live stream, we will end on a happy note. And also, be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to get as many of those as we can so that we can get accredited as real movie reviewers over at Rotten Tomatoes. And also, be sure to join our community over at saltynerddiscord.com. That link will take you right to our Discord. So you just type it into your phone or your computer, and then you get signed up. Super easy to do. And then you can talk about movies with us. We are on there all the time. And would love to have you guys over there as a part of our growing community. And we also, guys, we got 3 super chats right away. Well, 2 super chat. So we got Mexican Iron Man for $10. Hail panel, dropping my weekly protection payment. Hail Mr. Gated, whose leadership, vision, and wisdom makes FanCom possible. Hashtag Mexican Iron Salty Simp Fan LOL. Yes, Mike he's contractually obligated to drop a super chat on every Saturday stream. Otherwise, I come after him with my lawyers. So that is his protection payment. Wow. And then we have the Joker's voice for $10. Hail SMP and panel. I asked last week what a Jon Favreau Star Wars film would look like. According to WDW Pro source, it's Dave Filoni writing the script. Shrug. Oh well, Star Wars is dead and Disney killed it. Hashtag keep talking.
Joker's so angry. He's an angry man.
Oh yeah,
he's an angry man.
He hates Filoni, man. He hates him. And then Mexican Iron Man dropped a members chat for 11 months. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Where the heck is Tom Connors, who was on the thumbnail?
I know, right?
And Nat Vader needs to come to Hilton Head Island for rejuvenation vacay with Mexican Iron Man.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I want to do that too.
Yeah, Mike, you cure your rheumatoid arthritis.
I just need the weather to warm up, man. It's killing me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
See, we're not meant to live like this. It's horrible. I can't. No.
But to answer Mikey's question, so Tom was going to be on today's stream, but unfortunately he had a conflicting obligation that he had to tend to. So even though he's on the thumbnail, he is here in spirit. We all love
so
Tom.
Good.
Fluffy Panda for $10. Recently found out I'm 26% native Mexican, which I was excited for at first until I realized I might be related to Brian. Then I realized I have much better taste than he has, and so now I'm not worried. For those of you who don't know, Fluffy Panda is the president of the Brian from the Podcast Fan Club.
That was
Can't
great.
get enough of him. And also want to give a big shout out to Odin, who is now a regular columnist on the geeksandgamers.com website.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So congrats on that. I remember when it used to be me who was a regular columnist writing stuff on Medium, and you would have me on your show.
That's right.
Now it's reversed, so that's all good. But let's enough of the housekeeping stuff, guys. Let's start talking about the things that people are here for. And this is kind of a pretty raw story. Like it kind of came to a head on Twitter yesterday, but I wanted to talk about it because Amazon hails Satan. They love him.
Yeah.
And there's a new cartoon show that just premiered on Amazon Prime where Satan's the good guy and God is the bad guy. And I saw Odin plant his flag on the hill yesterday about this. But before we get to Odin's reaction, I just want to give people a little bit of a primer on what all this is about for those who don't follow the news as closely. So there's a show, it's called Has Been Hotel. It's an adult animated series, and it has just premiered on Amazon Prime. And there's actually a pretty interesting kind of story behind this. But before I get to it, I just want to give people the breakdown of what the show's about. So basically, God, there's an overcrowding population in hell because so many people are bad. And so God has a plan to send his angels down and basically kill off a bunch of demons to make room for new demons who keep coming day by day from after they die on Earth. And Satan's daughter decides that she's going to open up a hotel that's a rehabilitation center for demons so that demons can go and like basically get redemption and find their way back to heaven. and that way she solves the overcrowding problem in hell by basically like converting demons into good people and getting them a ticket up to heaven. And basically this show started off as a kind of like YouTube exercise for the creator. She basically, started a YouTube channel, kind of outsourced the animation process, and created this and a couple spinoffs just based off of like her passion for animation and stuff like that. And it got a lot of following. It was funded mostly through Patreon. And then once they did the pilot episode, they got picked up by the movie studio A24, which then sold the project to Amazon. And this whole season is kind of like an outgrowth of her early YouTube efforts to basically create like a fan base around this concept. So it's kind of like a bit of a rags to riches story, but it's been creating a lot of controversy from, kind of like the position that God's basically a jerk and he's a bad guy, and Satan's the good guy, and Satan's daughter is the one who's like helping to save souls so that they can get into heaven. And another big thing is that this is a very gay show.
Oh, it's
Very
so gay.
gay.
Oh my God, it's the gayest thing.
Yeah. So like the Satan's
Every
daughter,
character is gay.
Yeah, Satan's daughter, of course, is a lesbian. Her sidekick is her girlfriend. Their other sidekick is a porn star bisexual. The only person they have in the cartoon that is close to being normal is an asexual demon.
Right.
So there's a lot of DEI stuff going on in this cartoon. But when it came out, it was falsely reported as being a kids show because it's animated.
Well, it also
And,
looks like a children's show.
It does. The style of animation that this creator has is very kind of like Cartoon Network-ish, I think. But it was very interesting because basically the internet just went crazy when this show premiered. I think some of it might be kind of orchestrated by Amazon as a publicity stunt or whatever. But I wanted to throw this to Odin because, Odin, we all know that you are a man of God. You take your faith very seriously. And you had some strong words to say about this cartoon the other day on your Twitter account. So I wanted to throw this to you. What are your thoughts on Has Been Hotel?
Well, to put it bluntly, I think it's evil and demonic. And I think the one thing that it gets right, which is interesting when you think of it, is the fact that all of the people that are in hell, as you just mentioned, all seem to fit a certain criteria that a lot of like Christian religions and like pretty much have as here's your checklist basically of to act upon certain things to end up in hell. But I think that's just an interesting side point there. But yeah, so it was actually shout out to Brahma because he was the one that brought it to my attention, and he completely owned the fact that he had reported or at least thought it was geared towards kids. And I'm gonna say, like, even though it's listed as an adult animation, it's that it's mature audiences. When I watched the trailer that he had tagged me in, I would have believed that it was for kids because the trailer itself, like typically adult cartoons tend to have it where maybe in the first few seconds, it starts off seeming like your regular animated, kids. And then all of a sudden you have like the F-bombs or like the mature content coming in. But it's like the trailer is just going through the creation account essentially and like the beginning of everything. But instead it warps it to say that instead it's, God and the angels who are actually the bad guys, and the demons, Satan, like basically they try to act as if Lucifer, Satan is, he was a dreamer, right? His dreams were snuffed out.
Just a dreamer.
He was just a dreamer, right? And so like, again, the fact that it was being presented in such a way where I was like, I could believe that this was actually geared towards kids because of the animation style. And because it like, other than just the theological content, it didn't seem, at least in that one trailer, to come across as adult in really any way, I would say. So I have a lot of problems with it because obviously I think that it is going to cause a lot of issues. I think even though they can it's kind of similar to Barbie to me. Not in the, again, people are going to say, well, what do you mean Barbie? Think about how Barbie was marketed, right? Most people who saw that, you would say, oh, I could see how parents just seeing the trailer or just hearing the name Barbie would think, oh, I could probably bring some my kids to this or my younger teens to this. And then when you actually saw it, you're like, oh, this is not for kids at all, in fact, And so I think that that is something where this could actually be something similar. Now, you have a lot more protections with streaming because you get a lot of warnings right off the bat. You don't really get that like at a movie theater necessarily. But yeah, I have some problems with this just because of the way it's being marketed and the the way it's presenting its stuff.
I think it comes at an interesting time because first I just want to get out. I'm not a super religious guy. I have some beliefs, but I'm not super into religion for my own reasons. But I don't have a problem with people who are. You know what I mean? And it's very apparent. I look at this as just another thing that's going on with this very apparent cancellation of Christians in society right now. I see it all over the place,
Right.
and it's very apparent. I mean, even just this week, there's this thing going on with the quarterback for one of the football teams in the playoffs this year. I forget his name,
Houston Texans.
but it might be the Houston Texans. But he had his interview at the end of the game where he thanked Jesus and God for getting him there, and then NBC clipped that up. They edited that part of the interview out.
Of course they did.
You know what I mean? And I see this all the time, and it's very strange to me how a society and a country that was supposedly formed on these values, right, are trying to erase this kind of stuff, and it's very strange. It's very weird to me, but that's what I see here. I just see more bad stuff trying to be inserted into our world, and I don't particularly like it. It's not a show I'm going to watch. I wouldn't have watched it anyway. I like adult cartoons. I mean, everything from The Simpsons to Rick and Morty to Ren and Stimpy. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they all have their issues, but they've all had their controversies. But this thing just kind of coming out there saying, you know, God is bad, Satan's good, and whatever, hail Satan. And see, I can't even do that right now. My fingers are all messed up. But
God is in for you.
but yeah, man, it's just I just see it as one more thing on the list of the degradation of our society and our founding principles. So I'll leave it there.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to throw this to Keanu to get her opinion on it. But, Amazon has been kind of at the forefront of a lot of these adult animated series. Like you have Invincible, you have Vox Machina, you have a bunch of really good animated shows on there that aren't for kids. But they do have a animation style that's a little bit more geared towards adults. This one's a little bit more cutesy. But the big thing to me is kind of like the rags to riches story behind it. It's very similar to the path Vox Machina took, where basically they were a YouTube channel. They crowdfunded a bunch of money to do like a pilot, and they were able to sell that to Amazon and get enough funding to basically create like a whole series. And so like I'm a little bit conflicted on this because I do agree with Odin that this is very blatantly like a anti-God, kind of like pro-Satan type piece of content. But at the same time, it's also a rags to riches story that just so happens to star a former porn star who's a bisexual who's helping Satan's daughter save the souls of demons. So Keanu, what's your take on this?
Well, if this were not a cartoon and real people, I feel that I was born to play this role. So if they ever make it into a motion picture, sign me up. No, I'm not bisexual, but that's the only thing. I see a sassy, the female empowerment, very pandering towards religion bad, Satan good, sort of deal, which sounds like a party to me. But I'm not particularly religious. I don't know. I think hopefully heaven's like some sort of island somewhere. But I would like for there to be something after. Don't knock people who are religious, but this I would actually watch. I'm not a big adult cartoon fan. I say that, but when I'm forced to watch one, I end up loving it. Like, this is great. Why didn't I watch this before? Like, so I would actually watch this. Where I don't like is it's very how shall we call it? Sort of very, very, very far left. Like everybody has to be some sort of trans, gay, blah 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 blah. Which nothing wrong with that in my eyes. We're all shades gray here, but it doesn't need to be every single thing. But I would love to be the star in a film about the halfway house for like assholes, I guess, right? It's
Sure.
basically like hell is a party, and then if you want to get back to heaven for the overcrowding, then you go to this place and this lady helps you out with it. That sounds like fun. It sounds like something I would watch, and probably me, I wouldn't mind. And to your point about, I do like that it was sort of crowd funded and then made it onto Amazon. I mean, that gives hope for like a bunch of the new model of things, right?
Mhm.
Sort of creating your own content and then seeing where you can take it, and finding your own audience. So
Part of me
Alright.
wonders though how much of the show's content is the reason why it got on. Like, you know,
Right.
it's like, would that have been the same thing if it had a similar quality animation style and other things, but had instead maybe been a like pro Christian message? It's
Right.
like I doubt.
Well,
that they
then it would
would've,
be
you know.
lame.
I mean,
Well-
you're not wrong, because people like evil stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
but I mean, I'm a metalhead because I like hard, heavy, dark, kind of satanic black metal music. I love all that stuff, and I like the visuals of it. It makes me feel like I'm 15 again, rebelling against my parents. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. It's very punk rock to be like
sort of,
me from
but
hell, It's,
Yeah.
right.
but I'm
So-
not gonna condone this show though. It just doesn't look like anything I would be interested in personally.
Well,
so.
to Odin's point, what was interesting to me is as I was scrolling through Amazon Prime last night, so like you have obviously the Has Been Hotel like
Mhm.
poster and stuff like that on there as you're scrolling through, but I also noticed like there were like a lot of pro like religious movies and stuff like that in like kind of thrown in with that mix. So like I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like here's a documentary about like the saint. Here is obviously like a Christian movie and like stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I found it interesting that there was like that weird mix. But I want to throw this to Brian in the sense that, Brian, it seems like Amazon is really trying to kind of like ride the controversy to make people aware and want to watch
Yeah.
the show. Like what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that happening. There is something to say for like rage marketing.
Mhm.
When people get upset about something, like Velma was not a good show, right? I find it hilarious that literally in the first 5 minutes of Velma, there's it opens on naked teenage girls in a shower in high school. The entire show was just sort of a slap in the face to people that like just adore Scooby-Doo. And generally speaking, the writing wasn't very good. Like, it wasn't a very good show, but it got so much controversy. Like, people lost their mind. It made them look like it was constantly trending. So there's something to say for that. Like, you can drum up the rage for like people that get easily upset about something, or people that have strong beliefs, and then you can ride that free wave of marketing to maybe some eyeballs, and maybe some of those eyeballs are people that are going to look at it because they want to make sure that it's as horrible as what people are saying. I watched the first episode. I don't like that the creator, Vivzy Pop, whatever her name is. I've never liked her work. I find it odd that her animation style is like literally, it's like Cartoon Network now. It's like modern day children's animation. The voices are all children's animation. The editing style is quick and snappy, the way kids' cartoons are. These are like, you can list it as an adult cartoon, but it doesn't play like an adult cartoon. Adult cartoons often use like typical camera movements and stuff like that in order to mimic what you would see in a live action. And this doesn't do any of that. This goes through all the basic elements and tropes that a kid's cartoon does. So it looks very, very childish.
Is it that Cal Arts nonsense?
I don't know.
No, okay.
I don't
Maybe
know,
it's-
but like it has like it's hard to explain, but like the characters, the cameras the camera is never center. It's always moving, it's always up and down. It's very much like a TikTok video gone wild.
Mm.
And that's what a lot of kids animation is right now. But then on the flip side of that, literally 5 minutes into this thing, the main character starts to sing. She walks by a door and there's two gay people in BDSM outfits having sex.
Hell yeah.
Like it's like completely, a completely normal thing for kids to say. Now listen, it's an adult show. It is. but it doesn't look like an adult show. It looks like a children's show. And then on top of it, again, I have no problem, whatever sexuality you are, I don't care. Do whatever you want. But I do find it interesting that every single character is some version of Alphabet. Every character. And then the angels are just like frat bros that sexualize and smack women around. It's like
I wrote it. Okay.
It's like you wrote it. It's like you wrote it. But the thing is, like, it is being targeted to. I believe this is being targeted to kids, but not in a way that's overt. Like if you guys remember that Netflix show, it was called Q Police. Is that what it's called?
No.
You remember that? It was like the queer police, and everyone was super queer. So that was actually, it was, I mean, listen, I'm not into it, but it was adult animation. It had the same tropes of adult animation. The camera, mimicked live action, and I didn't like the show.
That sounds like a show I would have immediately started watching, Brian.
Yeah, but at least you
Adventures
know
of the
exactly what
Queer
you're
Police.
getting. Queer
That's what it was. Yeah, everyone was super
Listen,
queer.
all I
They
know,
were like superheroes.
Are
all I
you
know-
pro or
Q-Force.
against queer? Like, what's happening here? I must turn this on.
Yeah, it's
All
called
I-
Q Force.
oh boy, all I know is that for some reason I have this really weird urge to go and rewatch the entire run of Venture Brothers now.
Oh, Venture Brothers,
So,
great.
yeah,
Another
I
adult. That's adult animation.
Yeah,
and
for
it,
sure.
and it shows the way it tracks.
I need something. I need something good. I need something good to watch.
Yeah, Venture Brothers is
after
great.
this talk. So, yeah. Silence.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'll just button it up. Basically, I don't have a problem with this show, but my problem is the fact that it's being marketed to kids. There's the Q Force.
Sort
Oh
of.
my
Yeah.
god.
It's being marketed to kids, and people that say it's not, it's an adult show, they're full of shit. Like, just go look at kids shows and classic adult animation, and this is 100% every single trope, every single art direction, the voices, all that stuff, all children. It's all childish. That's not like normal. Adults don't want to watch that. If it was actually made like an adult show, I don't think there would be so much backlash. But like, it opens up with very childish Cartoon Network Saturday morning or whatever it is down there they watch, cartoons.
It sounds like it was made by an adult child for an adult child is what it's coming across as ultimately.
That's possible too. Yeah.
As
Yeah,
an
that'd be-
adult
that-
child,
Absolutely.
But you're not really like we know like there are so many adult children in today's world, especially because there's been so much coddling and pandering to the needs of others. Like there hasn't been as much struggle. There hasn't been as much like work, right? People have just been gifted everything and that everyone gives a trophy mindset. So like, honestly, it's not really surprising that of that type of generation, I guess this is the kind of content that's coming out now and being promoted. I don't know.
Right.
It just doesn't surprise me.
What's the average age for people leaving the house now? The average age is like 35.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that. Like, dude, I was 17 and begging my parents to let me leave and join the military. Like now the average age for people to leave the house and strike out on their own is 35. I was married at 20. I couldn't even imagine.
And even then, we're still paying half their bills and they're leeching off all of our streaming services.
Still
So,
paying for their
you know.
medical.
I won't
Yeah.
lie to you. My dad helps me with my rent. I'm not.
Yeah.
I won't lie. Yes.
I wish my dad helped me with my rent still. It's been a
Well,
long
let-
time. I help him
So
with his.
let me ask you guys this. So there was a rumor going around. I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was a rumor or a hoax or an actual news story. But about a week ago, there was the story going around that Martin Scorsese was going to be doing a biblical epic about Jesus, but it was a gender swap Jesus, where basically in a stone was going to be Jesus Christ.
Come on,
Of course.
Yeah.
And the debate around this idea was very, very interesting because like it was just like, oh, of course we can't tell if this is a joke or not because of the current state of Hollywood. So I wanted to just throw it to anyone on the panel here. What do you think about a gender swap Jesus biblical epic?
I would watch it only if Mia Khalifa got to play Jesus.
Oh my god!
Otherwise, no. I'm not
So you're saying they need to go as blasphemous as possible for you?
They might as well. They might as well.
Like just
no
super
interest.
Blasphemous.
No interest in that show. None. Zero.
I would 100% watch an Emma Stone quirky, like, whoa, hello, I'm Jesus. Like, I would 100% watch that. It better be a comedy, but yes, I or.
I mean, if it was a comedy, if it was satirical, that'd be different.
Yeah, I would
like that movie. I think it's called Year One or something like that. I actually sort of enjoyed that movie. I know other people didn't, but I got a kick out of the Cain and Abel fight. I mean, like, if it's satirical, I have no problem. I'm religious, not as religious as Odin is, but I'm religious, and I have zero issue with people making fun of my religion. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with you making fun of my race, my hair color, my IQ. I don't really care. As long as it's equal opportunity making fun of, I'm cool.
Listen, you Catholics are easy to make fun of, okay? It's just the way it is. It always has been. All you're standing up and sitting down and stuff. I can't do it. I tried to convert. I went to a wedding there at a Catholic church one time, full Catholic wedding. I was exhausted. at the end of the week. It was ridiculous.
This is how Odin has those rock hard abs, dude. He's constantly.
We also forget I don't go to English mass. I go to the Latin mass. So it's like it's not that there's more like sitting like as far as like frequency goes, but there's a longer period of time where you are kneeling. So
you are hardcore. That is
my
really
knees hurt.
Wow. Oh my god. The Latin mass. I went to Catholic school. I think I'm actually thinking of getting confirmed now because I skipped it for reasons. But I don't want to burst into flames when I walk into the church or anything, but I'm getting married and maybe it feels right. So Latin mass, do you understand it?
Yeah, they so basically they just like there's hand missiles, right, that you can use to follow along with the English mass.
Hand
also
missiles?
Not like a pew 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 missile.
Yeah.
It's no, it's like I say, like a book. So it looks like a Bible, but
For a minute, I was like, "Are you in a church or a terrorist group?" No, I'm not Catholic. I'm actually like a Pentecostal Baptist sort of.
Well, just remember, if you read modern media, we might as well be terrorists because go ahead, look up. There's an article that says rosaries and the far right. Rosary, like people who have rosaries also happen to be people that own guns, and like there was a trend on Instagram where people were posting their pictures of their rosaries and their weapons, and it's like alt-right, white supremacist rosary. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Sunday, fun day, gun day.
That's an aesthetic Baz Luhrmann used in the Romeo and Juliet. It was like rosaries and guns and pictures of Jesus on guns.
Yeah, that's a cool aesthetic though. Like that.
Yeah, it's hardcore.
The embossed Latin in the gun with the rosary and
I think I'm going to start my own religion.
And like you got like Antonio Banderas walking slowly down the walkway. There's like doves in slow motion
exactly.
I'll take it.
Cool.
He's wearing a black, like all black, but except for that one little the priest, white thing.
Yeah,
just looking mean with his collar, long hair flowing. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask Odin this because basically, Scorsese, he did Last Temptation of Christ, which was a very controversial kind of like religious film. But like if Scorsese was the one behind the gender swapping of Jesus, would you at least give it a little bit of credibility?
No, not at all. And that's also why I don't believe it, because it just doesn't seem like his style. Like it's like Scorsese of all people is not the kind of person that would typically do that. Because even when you go to films like Last Temptation of Christ, but then he also did another religious film called Silence, which was a brilliant, beautiful film. Andrew Garfield stars in it as a Jesuit priest in Japan, and it deals with the Catholic Japanese who were being killed for just being Christian, for having converted. And the way they do, like there's a sequence in there where they show how they handled their crucifixions, and let's just say water's involved. And it's just like one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is just kind of terrifying that this is how people historically actually were treated. What you always find though is even in the controversial moments, like Last Temptation is, I think, his most controversial from like a Christian or Catholic perspective, is even if you as long as you go in recognizing that this is not a biblical retelling, that this is not meant to be taken a certain way, and you say instead, okay, this is focusing more on the humanity of Jesus, there is actually there is something to get out of it, I would say, because it does focus more just on the human nature of Christ. But that's also where sometimes people kind of have issue with it. But it, again, handles it respectfully, because it is Scorsese. He is someone who was born and raised, Catholic, who has a lot of, obviously a lot of connections with Catholicism. And so he would never do something that, because that's just, again, that would be essentially a step too far, because at that point you're not presenting really anything other than just, modern day politics.
But maybe he wants another Oscar.
maybe he needs to make a Jesus movie starring Ewan McGregor.
Oh, I love him.
We could have Obi-Wan Jesus, but make it, make him play actually Jesus this time.
Oh, I would watch that. I would watch that for sure.
The funny thing about this is that because of his deal with Netflix, I don't think that it's too far off where he's like, I want to make a Jesus epic, and they're like, make Jesus lame and gay.
God is a woman,
Lame and
Martin
gay.
Scorsese, what I'm saying is I would love to play Jesus for you. I have no problem with it. Thank you. I
Lizzo
will respect
is
the role.
Jesus.
Oh, Lizzo. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's
Lizzo as Jesus.
Lizzo. The son of Nazareth.
it. Jack Black plays Judas, right?
Like,
You couldn't you could not very easily nail Lizzo to a cross. I don't think it would work.
You got like a whole battalion, or what do they call it?
Yes,
a legion of Roman soldiers. They're just pulling
I
a
know
rope
you
up.
would need a crane to get her up there, for Christ's sake. It would just never work.
Literally, for Christ's sake.
That's not right, Keanu. Okay.
All right, guys. So
Good stuff.
we got a couple super chats to get to. First of all, WG gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Thank you, WG. Always appreciate your support. And we're now halfway to our goal of getting 10 memberships during the stream. But for those of you out there who got those new memberships, keep in mind that there is a playlist on the Salty Nerd channel where you get access to all of our previous members' content. So be sure to check that out while you have your membership active. And also, every Tuesday, we do a members-only live stream right after the podcast that we do. So be sure to tune in for that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're really enjoying the interaction with our members. So be sure to check those out. And Magnus Toth for $20.
Nice.
A donation to start a fund for free helicopter rides for the makers of Has Been Hotel. Yes. We will give those free helicopter rides and no parachutes. I'm sure that it will work out just fine. And not to be outdone by WG, Jillian N gives 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. So we have now hit our goal.
Ding, 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 ding.
New memberships during the live stream. Thank you so much, Jillian.
That's
N.
awesome.
You are a class act. We really appreciate you. All right, guys. So now that we've gotten the non-controversial religious stuff out of the way, let's get to the real controversy, which is the Madam Web reshoots. There's been rumors swirling about this lately, which is basically there's this rumor out there that Sony messed up Madam Web so badly that they had to go back and reshoot a lot of it to try to get rid of all the plot holes that were created by the Sony studio executives. And I'll just give you guys a quick rundown over what this controversy is. Basically, Madam Web is a kind of prequel to the Spider-Man saga in the sense that Uncle Ben is like a young EMT who works with Madam Web. And so the idea here is that this is way before Peter Parker gets his spider powers, and he's like he might even not be born yet. But the studio, or the filmmakers, I should say, made Madam Web with the idea that it takes place in the 90s and Andrew Garfield is the canonical Spider-Man in Madam Web, right? And it has to do with some time travel stuff and all this other nonsense. But basically, they shot the movie thinking our Spider-Man's going to be Andrew Garfield, and this movie takes place in the 90s. Well, after the movie was shot, some Sony studio execs decided, the Spider-Man's going to be Tom Holland, and we're going to kind of connect this to the actual MCU. And so they're like, well, Tom Holland's way younger than Andrew Garfield. And basically they had to go back and reshoot the movie to take out any references to 90s culture or technology or anything like that. Because if they hadn't done that, then the timelines just wouldn't match up. So they basically had to go back and chop up the movie to try to get rid of all these 90s references that they had in it, and it just created a massive crap fest for the filmmakers. And then the director came out this last week and said, "Oh, Madam Web takes place in its own standalone universe outside of everything that Sony and Marvel has done before."
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Hey,
Like,
So it was definitely a little bit of a Schadenfreude moment, but you know, Madam Web didn't have the best hype going into you know, its release, which you know, it still hasn't been released, but when it was announced, people are just like, they watch the trailer and like, are you kidding me? So Matt Vader 74,
Oh,
what
no.
do you think? What do you think of taking a bad situation and making it worse when it comes to Madam Web?
I mean, this is just par for the course, right? This just seems more like more Disney Marvel Studios nonsense. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, take a character nobody cares about, nobody wants a movie about, and you know, and then they mess it up even worse. I mean, it's doomed, right? How this thing's it's going to be impossible for this thing to make any money, right, Odin? I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this, is because it's just one of those yet again characters that I don't know anything about, and I don't really have any plans to go see the movie, and it just seems like more stupidity from Marvel's point. I mean, are they going to have a hot Aunt May in this one? Are they going to de-age? I can't think of the name of the actress a little bit right now, but
Marissa Tomei.
yeah, they're going to de-age her to make her hotter. I mean, I don't know. It seems like more goofiness from Marvel is all. I don't expect anything else other than stuff like this to come out of anything from Disney at this point. So,
well, this isn't actually Marvel. This is Sony that's doing this, and
okay.
and they've
Well,
been
even
trying
worse.
they've been trying to build up their Spider-Verse with like Into the Spider-Verse, and they have Craven coming out this year.
That looks great, fantastic. That looks just
Venom
like
movies.
Just like Craven. Looks perfect, perfectly cast. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
But I want to throw this to Odin, because basically, like, this is a perfect example of studio executives screwing up a movie. Like, a lot of people out there think that they have this concept of filmmaking as like very competent people planning stuff out and executing that plan and doing something that, like, you know, is overseen by very competent people. But it's the exact opposite. Nobody knows what anything does in Hollywood, and people just go in to specifically screw stuff up through either stupidity or negligence or a combination of the two. And I think Madam Web is the perfect example of this, where Sony has the rights to all these Spider-Man characters, and they're just like, how can we keep bilking the Spider-Man license and taking these obscure characters no one cares about and making them the center of movies? And but they can't even get that right, because they're like, oh, like, no one ever thought to tell these people, oh, don't make it a period piece, don't make references to this particular Spider-Man. It was just like they let them do their thing, and then when it got to the post-production aspect of it, they're like, oh, well, like, we have to go back and reshoot like a huge portion of this movie to get rid of all this stuff, because otherwise it would just create huge plot holes. So Odin, this is pretty par for the course for studio stuff. What's your take on it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just looking at this movie, there are just so many weird quirks about it. There's no reported budget yet, but knowing what we do about most of these films, it'll cost somewhere between $100 and $200 million, most likely, if we had to make any guesses. The writers of the film, as far as the screenplay, or the two main writers, are the same writers behind Morbius. So if anyone was a big fan of that film, hey, you got a lot to look forward to here.
Morbid
It's
time.
a modern masterpiece.
Absolutely. SJ is the name of the director. SJ Clarkson is the director, and I looked at her filmography as far as like what she's directed, and she directed some of the worst episodes, like season 4 episodes of Heroes. She directed a couple episodes of Jessica Jones, a couple of episodes of Defenders. Let's just say she's got a long list, so she's at least got some experience, but it's not a very good one, just going down through all the different things that she's been involved with. So there's that concept. Interestingly, listed at least on their Wikipedia page, Marvel Entertainment is listed as an actual production company, so it sounds like Disney may have actually put some money into this, at least according to what we're seeing there. And then also, this film is being released, and I know everyone's talking about it. It's on Valentine's Day. It's on Valentine's Day. People need to remember, this year, Valentine's Day is also Ash Wednesday. So this film coming out, $100 to $200 million, same writers of one of the biggest flops of the year that came out, Morbius, one of the worst films to ever get released, though the Morbid Time memes were obviously hilarious. Coming out on Ash Wednesday, there's just a lot of things kind of just going together to ensure, I think, that this film's going to be a complete and utter failure. And I can't wait to cover it because it's going to be a good box office weekend to cover.
So I'm looking at an article that says Madam Web's budget was $80 million. But that doesn't include the reshoots, right? Or the marketing budget.
It definitely doesn't include marketing, for sure. So because typically, as much as I always like to say, take anything from Wikipedia a grain of salt, but they're usually pretty much on top of getting links to articles when the budgets are mentioned. So if it's saying $80 million, then that's coming from Sportskeeda, it looks like. So not really known for covering, I think, box office stuff in general. So we'll have to wait and see, but probably that would make sense, I guess. But yeah, now would not include any reshoots. Definitely does not include marketing, and I still think it's still not going to be low enough to be able to.
I never really thought about studios factoring in the Ash Wednesday Catholic box office.
Yeah,
for
clearly that's the audience.
Do you think the Scorsese Woman Jesus movie will come out on Ash Wednesday or maybe Easter? Hopefully, would that be all right?
It would make sense for that one too,
yes,
right? Because
exactly.
Even if it's a film that he would never in any century make somehow, if he did remake it, it would absolutely get released at that time because that's just the kind of person that he is, right? But it's like, are you trying to okay, who are you going for? Are you going for the romance? Because if you watch the trailer, there really isn't any. And if you're going for the Catholics, they're not going to be going because it's Ash Wednesday, so they're probably not going to be going out to get popcorn and stuff because they're fasting on Ash Wednesday. So it's like, wait a minute, who are you going for here? Are you just trying to make this thing fail, or what's your deal? I don't get it.
Well, I think that it's important to note that Deadpool proved that Valentine's Day is actually a big time for comic book movies. But I want to highlight this chat from Abomination. It's Madam time.
Oh my goodness!
Instead of Morbin time, it's Madam time.
I love that dude. He always watches me over on Odyssey when I stream. So shout out to him.
That brings me to Keanu here, because Keanu, this is another example of an MCU oriented movie where it's basically all about the women. There's Madam Web, who's the main character, but then there's 3 other female spider women who are rounding out the cast, and the bad guy.
Don't call me a spider woman, okay? Please. I'm a human. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what's your take on this? Do you think that women are going to respond to Madam Web being out in theaters on Valentine's Day, and that's what they want to bring their men to?
Well, if the men don't want to see it, and if they have any sense and they want to keep their boyfriends, they won't be like, baby, please bring me to see Dakota Johnson be a spider lady.
Come on, babe.
Please don't. But my take is, I have no problem with the woman thing if they're trying to, milk all of every single character that ever existed in the comic book. And I won't lie to you. I'm trying to learn about all of these universes. But the problem with it is I haven't seen a Spider-Man since it was Tobey Maguire. And that's because they're these, I guess it's Marvel and Sony, correct?
Correct.
They're also obsessed with all of these movies interlocking, so you can't just watch one. To me, it seems like this. Watch one by itself, that it's hard for somebody to break into it and know what the fuck is going on. If they're going back and reshooting all of this because of all the plot holes and hey, it won't make sense over here or there, then where does one even begin? So it's a far larger problem. What would I start with? Say if I only just watched if I've only ever seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right? Where do I even begin? And will Madam Web even make sense to me if I just went to the movie on Ash Wednesday to see it?
That's a good question.
Right.
The idea here is that you have these 2 competing studios who are doing 2 competing universes just based off of the licensing. But I find it interesting that the director specifically came out and said, "Oh, this movie doesn't take place in any continuity. You don't have to watch anything to understand what's going on. Spider-Man never makes an appearance in this movie, and yet it's so obviously part of Sony's Spider-Verse that they're building out. It just doesn't make any sense to me, why the director would come out and say that."
So in essence, you could go and see it by itself. It might just suck. Is that
exactly?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It definitely looks like it'll suck.
I'll have my betrothed take me on Valentine's Day, and I will report back to how horrible it was. I will watch it for you.
Yeah, and drink a lot of Bud Light while you're doing it.
Yes.
Oh, I sure will.
I would like to say that I'm looking at here, and it looks like a Madam Web is going to be on a Valentine's Day weekend fight against the Bob Marley One Love biopic. So,
Which I'm not too excited for.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose who's gonna win that battle, I would have to go Bob Marley.
Yeah, me too. And
Stoner
also
crowd showing up in droves versus whatever the audience Madam Web's for.
Also, still in the theaters will be Lady Frankenstein movie called Lisa Frankenstein that comes out February 9th. Argyle, which looks kind of interesting, and some movie called Imaginary about a killer teddy bear or something. So
lots of competition.
So that's going to be an interesting weekend, right? I mean, yeah. One Love
should be interesting. But I want to throw this to our comic book expert on the panel, Brian from the Popcast. He has channels that covers DC comics and movies and stuff like that. But Brian, with the bad kind of like press that Madam Web's getting just leading up to its release, do you think that the reshoots might have possibly helped it, or is this just more symptoms of like a doomed production in your opinion?
Yeah, it sounds doomed, and I find it very odd. Why wouldn't they want them to connect? It's someone saw it and they were like, "Oh yeah, listen, this cannot be a part of what we're doing here. This is not going to work." Whenever there's like reshoots are a normal thing, but reshoots this close to like an actual release date, that's not normal. So completely fine if you want to add, reshoots, do, change things, whatever, modify the story. But like when you're doing it so quickly, I have to assume that it's based on like focus groups. Like they showed the movie to certain people, or there was private screenings and people didn't respond to something, and now they're making changes. And that's never a good sign.
Well, let me ask the panel this, right? So do you think that Sony's insistence on going forward with their Spider-Man license and trying to basically create their own cinematic universe just out of Spider-Man side characters is a good strategy, or should they have just sold it back to Marvel and let them run with it while Sony makes their own thing? Because it seems to me like none of the fans care about Sony's plans for the Spider-Verse.
Who wants to watch a Spider-Man villain movie without Spider-Man in it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line for me. These are Spider Universe movies.
3 Spider-Man movies came out with
Spider-Man.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Yeah,
well, it's also why their choices have been so weird, because they have obviously like the conjunction production that they did with Spider-Man No Way Home, which was just this amazing moment that proved the entire COVID narrative wrong. Because a bunch of it was like, oh yeah, no one's going to see West Side Story's remake because it's COVID still. And then all of a sudden the next weekend, oh, wait a minute. I guess that narrative doesn't work anymore. Made it, over $1 billion, did fantastic numbers. But then they did Morbius, and now it's Madam Web. And maybe they've done something in between, but I don't even remember it. Gosh.
I don't understand. It's like making a Wizard of Oz remake without Dorothy and making it about the Wicked Witch of the West. Oh, wait.
That actually sounds kind of cool to me. So
I think that already happened. Yeah.
I've seen the musical that it's based off of. And hey, it's actually good. It is actually good. I don't think the movie's going to be good. But
so what we're saying is like we need to make more movies about fallen angels hanging out in hell. Because people like bad guys more than they like the heroes, right? Is that what we're saying?
It's actually it's a good bow on with the you want to watch the villain.
I want to watch.
You want to.
I want to watch that. I want to watch that Darth Vader movie. Let's go. I want to see him turn evil. Wait, we got a trilogy about that, huh? Never mind.
Well, it is interesting because Sony launched with Venom, one of Spider-Man's biggest villains without Spider-Man involved. And now they're doing Kraven, and they had plans to do like a whole Sinister Six universe, where like each Sinister Six villain got his own movie, and then they went to the team up. It's like these are all bad guys. It's like what are we waiting for them to team up for if Spider-Man's not in the mix?
Yeah, they're all going to turn on each other anyway, right? I mean, if they're
that's
evil.
what they do. Bad guys going to be bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Though I will say, mentioning the box office weekend, I think one glaring oversight, at least according to the numbers release schedule, Turning Red's re-release is also the weekend before. All right, so don't sleep on Turning Red from Disney. All right, straight to Disney Plus, now getting a theatrical release.
Yeah,
Is that-
I don't even know what that
doesn't
is.
know what turning red is.
Exactly.
I'm turning red because I am embarrassed to say I don't know what that is either.
Never heard of it.
It's one of Pixar's movies, right?
Oh, it's the anime one.
It's one of the ones that went
red
straight to Disney Plus
monsters.
that they're re-releasing. And I felt bad because everyone was like, why didn't you talk about Soul bombing? I'm like, because I did not think anyone was going to see it, because everyone who wanted to already did when it was put on Disney Plus right away. And it's been 2 years, I think, since it got put on Disney Plus. So it's like, why does anyone think, like Disney especially, why would you put them out when they're not going to make any money? Like, it's so stupid.
I like this guy's energy.
Maybe they should do a movie just about Joker. Oh, wait.
Maybe make two movies about just the Joker.
We could go on all day about just make villain movies.
Yeah.
We all like our villains.
Are you telling me you did not like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, you guys? Because then I'll have to fight you.
Oh, no, I
didn't-
liked it.
I didn't
You
hate
did?
it,
Okay, good. Okay.
but
Yeah.
I wanted to go kill myself when it was over.
Oh my gosh.
That was so. Yeah, it wasn't the most uplifting or fun movie to watch.
No, yeah, it certainly wasn't uplifting, but
Oh
for
my
me,
God,
it was
I
like a
love it.
breakout hit. I thought I was gonna be. I thought I was gonna hate it, and I ended up loving it.
In
I've
hindsight,
been to those steps where he dances twice. I love
Oh,
I love
nice.
Joaquin Phoenix so much. Yeah.
in hindsight,
was
I think go ahead.
I was
It's on
just
me
gonna say,
now. Anyway,
Go ahead.
the funniest thing in hindsight about that is when you look, they had the director, Todd Phillips, do like breakdowns of his scenes, and he's very methodical about how he does everything. And then it just takes you a moment to say, aren't you the same guy that did all the Hangover movies? And it's like, oh, wait, you're actually like breaking down like the mise en scène and like all the different things going on in your scene, like the color palette and everything. And I'm like, Hangover. I mean, I love that. I think the first Hangover movie was hilarious, but come on, like,
We do stupid shit when we get fucked up. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, and I could just see like his breakdown was like, yeah, this is the shot I stole from Taxi Driver. This is the shot I stole from Raging Bull. And I just think the first Joker was such a wonderful, healthy mental health story. It was fantastic. All right, guys. So we talked about that one. Now let's talk about something else here, which is slightly related to Madam Web, because it's another comic book thing, and that is that She-Hulk completely blew through their budget, according to the actress who played She-Hulk, and this is such an interesting story. I can't wait to get your guys' take on it. So Tatiana Maslany basically thinks that a season 2 of She-Hulk is unlikely, because basically she says that they blew through their budget on season 1. Marvel didn't like that. They didn't like how much it cost. And it basically cost $225 million for the first season
Oh my god!
of She-Hulk, which is more than the budget for the first Avengers movie. And essentially, each episode of She-Hulk cost roughly in the range of $25 million. And that's more than the final episodes of season 8 of Game of Thrones had for their budget.
and they were like all under 45 minutes too, right?
Oh, they were super short.
That is correct. They were much shorter. And basically, the idea here is that the CGI for the She-Hulk character was the thing that really jacked up the price.
I mean,
on all these things.
let's be real. That twerking scene alone probably cost close to $20 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of CGI right there.
I mean, just hiring Megan the
So-
Stallion was probably
Yes,
$20
I would
million.
say Megan the
Yeah.
Stallion doesn't come cheaply, right? She needs her stable and everything.
Yeah.
So
Or at all. But the idea here is that because season 1 cost so much money, and Marvel is currently in an austerity phase where they're trying to scale back the cost of all this stuff, that season 2 of She-Hulk is highly unlikely, which is unfortunate for many YouTubers who basically were able to put their kids through college off of season 1 of She-Hulk. But fear not, people, because apparently Mark Ruffalo, who can't keep a secret, has confirmed that they're going to be doing a Hulk movie, and that the character of She-Hulk is going to have a major role in that movie. So it's not the last we've seen of She-Hulk, but it might be the last that we've seen of her on Disney Plus. But in addition to that, there's also the Daredevil factor, because we got to see the aborted version of Daredevil in his mustard outfit for the upcoming Daredevil Born Again thing in this season. And apparently that's now completely out the window. The Netflix version of Daredevil is now canon in the MCU. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. But I want to throw this to our numbers master, Odin. Odin, is this the most expensive comic book TV show that's ever been made?
I actually really didn't follow it that much because I just hated everything about it. I had to watch it Friday Night Tights, and I despised Gary every episode that I had to sit through, because and it's one of those things where I think a lot of times people speak of that hyperbolic language, right, of saying this is the worst thing ever, this is terrible, this is garbage. I think I can say I'm honest when that is one of the worst things I think I've ever seen, especially at the very end when it's the whole breaking out of the Disney Plus app crap. Like I was just, at that point I was, if I had hair on my head, I'd be pulling it out. I mean, that's just how bad it was getting to that point. But yeah, 225 million, I would say it's, I don't know necessarily if it's the most expensive show, but I would say for what you got, like for what you actually got out of it, it probably was. The fact that it cost that much per episode, that you got that little per episode, and the fact that we know that the numbers for that show, based on what has been revealed, which is not much, was not looking good. So yeah, I would say this is probably one of the biggest losses for a show that's ever existed, not necessarily the most expensive.
I'm looking at a list right here, and I don't think this is super current because She-Hulk is not on the list, but it has Lord of the Rings of Power coming in at $58 million per episode, Stranger Things 30, and then WandaVision at 25, and then House of the Dragon at 20. So it's right in the top. It'd be in the top 5.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that doesn't surprise me at all. For again, what we have seen Disney do, right, from just time in, time out, is overspend on their projects and get middling to poor results. Right. And really, they had one middling result last year. The entire year of 2023, they had one film that maybe kind of made money. Every other film they had lost money, and a lot of them lost a lot of it. So when you look at their streaming services, we think about She-Hulk as a great example of, once again, hundreds of millions of dollars just being completely thrown away, just burnt. Like they would have made more money had they taken all of that money and just like sat with it, or at least put it in a bank, than actually go through the process of making a product to put out there, So like, that's just the kind of nonsense that they're doing right now at Disney.
It's really wild when you think about how much money they're spending on these things. I mean, the Lord of the Rings, $58 million per episode. What?
Yep.
What do they spend this money on? It's insane. Go ahead, Keanu. It looks like you want to say something.
I don't know. No, just maybe the craft services table. I mean, what could you possibly spend that much money on? It's got to be you said it's CGI heavy, correct?
Yeah. All these shows are.
It didn't look like it though. I mean,
I don't know.
Like,
They're
there
gonna
wasn't
have to
good
find a way.
CGI.
Yeah. You bet you to spend that much money and then not make money from it seems like a big waste of time. But I guess people loved it. I mean, my brother, huge She-Hulk fan. He is gay, but he thought it was great. Silly, but great. So I don't know.
Well, Keanu, I wanted to ask you real quick, because basically Kevin Feige's thought process behind this was that, hey, we're going to take this female superhero, we're going to give her basically what amounts to a sitcom, and we're really going to try to bring women, the female demographic, into Marvel, because basically She-Hulk was tailor-made for a female audience. But it also goes to the fact that like the people mostly watching superhero fare are the male demographic. So do you think that She-Hulk was like a good move from Marvel's part to try to bring more women into their fan base? You
know what? Just this right now makes me want to go watch all of She-Hulk. So I probably will. I think it is a good move. It's just not something I would typically watch. But then I was talking to my brother about these topics because he's a huge She-Hulk fan. And even what he was saying, I was like, well, she's a lawyer and also green, and it's a pretty lady. I mean, yeah, it makes I might sound kind of dull, but yeah, it makes me want to go and watch it. So I think it is a good move, but you got to maybe do it on a bit of a little lower of a budget so you could make another one if people do like it. I mean, I don't think it's a bad move, but
yeah, Vader, there were a lot of people on Twitter when this thing with Tatiana Maslany kind of hit, where they were like, couldn't they have just gotten like a really big woman, painted her green, and then like taken Tatiana's face and put it on her, kind of like how Lou Ferrigno played the Hulk and stuff like that. Like why do you think that they had to spend so much money on CGI?
Because that's just how they do superheroes now. I mean, to be perfectly blunt, I mean, they don't need to hire a female Lou Ferrigno to play the Hulk anymore, because they can just make her in a computer and make her do whatever they want. So there's no directing that. They don't have to cast that. They can just take their version of what's in the comic book and just put it in the computer and make it dance.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got excited because I think I just had like $1 billion idea. If you
Mhm.
want to bring women into it that you wouldn't normally watch superhero movies, and you need like a larger woman that people love and is like hot, you get Khloe Kardashian, you paint her green, put her in acting classes, and make her She-Hulk. Literally, there would not be one woman in America that would not go and watch that. I'm actually serious. They probably would. You four lovely gentlemen would
I mean-
probably pass away from disgust, but all the women would go and watch it.
Chloe is definitely my favorite of the Kardashian bunch.
Yes,
That's for
she's
sure.
funny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not for her personality.
No,
But I think this also, like the talk of money and CGI is also just, it's a part of this really epidemic of Disney where they overspend on these effects that are usually just not very good. They're just not very well rendered. And I think it's because a couple reasons. One, because they use so much, right? You look at a film like Godzilla Minus One, $15 million budget, and you think to yourself, there's still a lot of CGI used in it, but they were somehow able to be cost effective with it. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it was just in-house. I think the guy who directed it is actually an artist who I assumed worked on it as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that's one of the issues is that they do too much of it. And then also, cost effectiveness in mind, a lot of the people they're going to are, I think, in California or are based in countries. I think you've even talked about this maybe, Matt, before, that they're based in these areas that have high cost. And so it's basically they're painting themselves into a corner to get subpar effects for way too much money, and then they're using too much of it. So it's just like this ever adding on problem.
But also there was this issue where they paid God knows how many hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to create a CGI twerking sequence.
Gosh,
Mhm.
yeah.
As almost like a throwaway joke thing at the end of the end of an episode. It's like, if you really wanted to cut the budget, you'd cut shit like that out, because it added nothing. And it wasn't even that funny. It was the most cringe moment in the entire season. Brian, I want to get your take on this.
Yeah.
So like, Marvel has spent a lot of money on all of their, kind of DC Plus TV shows, but this by far was the most expensive. And it came out like as the show was coming out that the showrunner was a very inexperienced showrunner. She hired the initial concept for She-Hulk was that it was going to be the trial of the abomination, right? And then they found out that she had hired all these people who didn't know how to write legal dramas. So they basically scrapped the entire idea for the season and were just like, let's just come up with like standalone funny episodes. But it also got to the point where originally you weren't supposed to find out She-Hulk's origins until the final episode, and they were like, this season doesn't make any sense, so let's take the final episode, move it up to the first episode. And they had to rush on getting all the CGI stuff done before the premiere. And they were basically like finishing up the special effects right up to the last minute on every single episode as it was getting ready to be released. Do you think that's a good way to run a business?
No, it's not. You know what? Imagine if they had actually hired someone that knew how to write legal dramas, and the focus of it was like it was a legal drama, and like the flair was that she happened to be She-Hulk. That might have been interesting, like go back to like the Boston Legal, The Practice, Ally McBeal, like you can totally like those. Some of those shows are great. Boston Legal is one of my favorite shows of all time. If you can write a good legal drama and just wrap it into, wrap it around the superhero sort of, genre, then you can introduce an entire new set of fans to that kind of content. But of course, they didn't do that. The worst thing about She-Hulk for me was the very end when they tried to like push, the Hulk's son was the name. Like they tried to like shoehorn the Hulk's son into the very end of it from like War World or whatever that comic was, and he just looked so bad. The CGI was bad. It looked like an NPC from a PS3 game. It was so horrible.
Well, that was also the setup for the upcoming Hulk movie.
Right, which is also pretty bad. The show itself, it could have been good. I think there was some pretty cool twist actually. But they didn't capitalize on anything, and they every time they had a chance to spike the ball, they fumbled it. And the graphics weren't very good, and the twerking was stupid. The whole point of it was let's get people to talk about it on social media, and we did, and we said it looked stupid.
I really liked Daredevil's Walk of Shame in the morning. That was really
yeah, really right. Yeah, hey, here's a character everyone loves. Everyone like loves Daredevil. Period. Even the haters, people that don't like Marvel stuff currently, still like the Daredevil character. Let's ruin it.
Let's destroy him. Let's cuck him. Let's do it.
Let's cuck this guy right now. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? How about the Doomcock? Like there was actually like the character that looked almost exactly like the Doomcock.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They were definitely making fun of Doomcock in that episode.
And the incel group at the end, like the men's rights incel group.
I wiped so much from my memory about
me too.
Yeah.
So bad.
I watched it once and then I took it out and I threw it away.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna watch it right after this. I can't wait.
You should.
You know what's funny is getting to Brian's point. It's like, why didn't they hire David E. Kelly to come in? Because the initial pitch for this TV show was Ally McBeal meets the Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they went with this really inexperienced woman POC diversity hire who had no idea what she was doing. And basically they had to spend so much money like rewriting and reshooting and rejiggering the entire first season where they could have avoided all that if they just had hired like, the white male David E. Kelly to come in and basically apply his unique kind of form of legal drama comedy to the episode. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, it would have worked.
I
Sounds
think
like a cool idea. Yeah.
What's going through my brain right now is that they clearly failed at their marketing because Keanu hasn't seen the show yet, and she is absolute bullseye of their target demographic for this show.
Right, it's true, right? But my gay brother, it got to him. He loves it, so it was there. But I would 100%. It literally sounds exactly like something I would really enjoy watching. So I don't know why it sort of like slipped past my algorithm, but it certainly did. So too much Kardashians, I suppose. I don't know.
Keanu, do you think it's just because like the comic book like industry, whether it be on TV, movies, or the comics itself, is like you and others like you just aren't into that type of thing. You don't pay attention to it.
It's like if you get me to watch it, I love it and become obsessed, but you have to get me to watch it and I have to be aware of it. And it's not and I'm trying to awaken my inner nerd. I have been, because it's an entirely cool universe that I feel like I'm missing out on, which is why I get overwhelmed and sad when I'm like, I've only ever seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but I want to see Andrew Garfield, but I just don't want to be confused. So even if I had known about She-Hulk, I would probably be scared I wouldn't understand it because of there's so much content. That's why but now I'm not afraid to watch, saying thanks to you fine gentlemen. So I will, and I'll report back.
It's like, oh no, we gave him another viewer. That's no good. Awesome.
It's weird. In order to fully understand what's happening in She-Hulk, number one, you have to have seen the second Hulk movie, The Incredible Hulk, right? With the Abomination in it, and then you would have had to have seen Shang-Chi as well.
So it is like that. So you do have to see all the other movies. That's because they want to take every droplet of money from every single person. Nothing can just stand alone. I'm like, right. I mean, it would take me years to fully understand all of it. If I was a complete layman, I've seen some of it or whatever, but it would take me years to go through everything and try and understand it. So that's where they're not getting new audiences. People are too afraid to break in. It would just take too long.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Indeed it does.
But I'm going to try for you. So
we appreciate that. All right. So we got a super chat to get to real quick. Actually, we got a couple. From the Joker's Voice for $5. $225 million for what? Definitely not the visual effects. I'm just saying that must have been the best craft surfaces ever. Hashtag keep talking.
Probably has
caviar and crab legs.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Any Given Sunday, or pretty much any Oliver Stone movie where they would set aside $20 million just for cocaine. In the film.
Megan
like
the
everyone-
Stallion has a very healthy appetite, you know. So the hay and all, everything. It's a lot of hay.
You know, it's funny. I had never heard of Megan the Stallion until I saw She-Hulk. Like,
Really?
I was just like, who's Megan the Stallion? I don't get it. Shows how old and white I am, I guess. But we got another super chat from Lover of Green for $10. Not sure this is still true, but Nerdrotic said some of the high cost is due to all the Fauci mandates.
Oh,
If HW is still doing that in 24, where 90% of America has moved on, they deserve to lose. So basically, he's saying that because it was shot during the COVID mandates and they had to have like COVID consultants on and do all the social distancing and all like the tests and all that stuff, it ballooned the budget up.
That can
more so
add
than
to a
usual.
budget, but
Yeah.
but like it would have still been way too expensive for what you got.
all
you
of
know?
all of those useless paper masks they wear cost a
Yeah.
lot of money. Cost
Really?
a lot of money.
Mm.
Yeah,
It is
I
very
think I
true.
think I still have a box of them somewhere in the house.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because it's coming out now. It's where like Fauci was like, "Oh yeah, we just kind of made up that 6-foot distancing thing, and masks don't really like stop the spread, and even the
Yeah.
vaccine it isn't sure that you know."
Oh
it's-
man.
LOL, guys, right?
So I can go.
Consult your doctor, everybody.
I can go put away my 12-foot circle hula hoop that I wear over my shoulders.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the full
I don't
body
have to
condom.
hug my grandma through plastic anymore, you mean?
Oh no.
Yeah, it was such a freaking mess what they did
Ugh.
during that time.
Yeah.
And
Someday,
guys,
but listen, someday we'll be old and we'll be able to tell our grandkids about the dark times, the dark COVID
Maybe
times.
if they even believe
Maybe.
us, because like I go back and think about all the stuff that was happening then, and like how like I was not as early as others, like kind of feeling out how crappy things were getting. But there are people where I'll mention certain things and they'll be like, "That didn't happen." I'll be like, "It did." So there's a total like what is it not
100%
that Mandela effect or something going on where people are just not remembering what actually happened.
hmm
oh yeah, keeping kids out of school and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of times we wish we could forget, guys, let's start talking about some Star Wars stuff. In particular, Daisy
Oh,
Ridley
Here we go.
making a ton of money
Here we go.
coming back to Star Wars. So this news hit over the weekend, where basically Daisy Ridley, who got paid pennies on the dollar for her role in the sequels, I think her and the top 3 guys made something like $100,000 per movie, something like that. But Daisy Ridley has basically upped her game, and she is reportedly receiving $12.5 million for her return in Star Wars New Jedi Order, which is the quote-unquote Rey movie that may or may not have been shelved indefinitely. And the interesting thing about this story is that there's rumors that the reason her salary is so high on the front end is because she's foregoing a lot of the back end payouts, because basically
Smart.
no Star Wars movie has actually made a profit
She's a
since
smart girl.
Kathleen Kennedy took over after what was it, Solo or Rise of Skywalker or something like that. So basically, she is now in like the top tier of highly paid actresses. I think only Margot Robbie is making more than $12.5 million.
Margot Robbie made 12.5 for Barbie, according to this
There you
chart.
go. There you go.
So the same.
So basically, this is a situation where people are saying that the lead actress is going to make more money than the actual movie itself. So, Odin, do you have any
Accurate.
thoughts on the projections of what a new Star Wars movie could make, and compared to the lead actress's paycheck?
Oh, well, that all is under the assumption that this film is actually going to happen. And wasn't there another article rumor that just came out saying it's been delayed indefinitely? I don't know. Yeah, it's like, so I honestly just, don't think the film is actually going to happen. And if by some miracle it does happen, yeah, I think that it's kind of amazing that she will, if the film is made, because obviously she won't get paid until it is, that she will actually have made a lot more money than, I mean, we're talking about an infinite amount more money than what the next Star Wars film will make. Because if we all remember it, because I've mentioned this, previously, I've been doing some number crunching on a lot of these things, and obviously a lot of information came out over just even the last couple of years. Shout out to people like Valiant Renegade for uncovering a lot of this stuff as far as the amount of money spent because of UK tax returns and tax credits. We've been able to find out what actual, dollars were spent on it. So going back just Rise of Skywalker, the film's budget after tax credits was around $416 million. So that film lost over $100 million because of how much it cost and also they made the vast majority of their money internationally and not domestically. So if you just look from The Force Awakens, that film was at over 900 million domestic, and the franchise ended at 500 million domestic. So you lost $400 million worth of people between the first film in that franchise and the last. And so this is a continuation of that with Rey, and you're not going to have any of the original people in it, right? Like, not that they really were in the, sequel trilogy, mind you, but it's going to be even less attached, right? It's going to be even more detached, I should say, from the Skywalker, what should have been the Skywalker saga, right? So even less people domestically are going to be seeing this then. Internationally, probably the same. So if they're still spending that amount of money, and they're likely going to continue to spend that amount of money, it's going to be another massive financial failure for them going forward. So yeah, it's not looking good. But also, they might be lucky, because I don't think the film's going to get made. But we'll see.
Oh, we'll see about that. But Keanu, so Lucasfilm has had this big strategy to pivot Star Wars towards a female brand, and they want characters like Rey out there. They want her headlining movies, because they believe that Star Wars, in order to bring in a bigger demographic, needs to attract more women into
She
the
looks like a
franchise.
young TikToker, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I totally get that.
Well, from your stance as a woman, do you care about Star Wars at all? Do you know women who care about Star Wars?
I always liked Star Wars growing up. Obviously, I like the Padme that Star Wars was always my favorite one. And I saw the one with Rey in it. Forgive me, which one? What was the first one that she was in?
The Force Awakens.
That I saw that in the theater, and I thought she was cute and adorable. I think they could afford it if they just ease up on the craft services table and pay her in the front end, exactly what they promised. But it does bring a female audience. But again, it's that same problem. I would have to know about that. You got to get these women's eyes off of Bravo a little bit and onto if they put Rey in a reality show and then put her back into Star Wars, that might be a marketing plan. But I don't know, if you're just not aware of it. Again, it's not going to reach the female audience that you really want. But
well, just from a hetero female perspective, would you be more likely to go see a Star Wars movie starring a strong female character or a hunky male character?
That's a good question. Well, it would depend. If it were a Star Wars with a Joaquin Phoenix in it, I would be there. I would camp out for no reason.
Yeah, I would
be
too.
in line. Yes, I would. I would sleep in the theater. I would, be screaming. I like I like a good female villain. I don't really care about a female hero. Superwoman was great with that really hot lady. What is her name? Whatchamacallit? Wonder Woman or Superwoman? What is
Wonder Woman?
Gal Gadot.
Wonder
Gal
Woman.
Gadot.
Excuse
Gal
me.
Gadot, yeah.
Gal Gadot. Jesus God,
She's beautiful.
You're all looking at me like, what the fuck? What is this bitch talking about?
Superwoman. You mean Supergirl?
Wonder
What?
Woman. Excuse me. That was so exciting. I like more of a female villain and a hunky male hero. But it really doesn't matter. I would be more inclined to see like a badass lady than a hero one, but that's just my personal preference. But,
That makes a lot of sense.
And I also, we talked about this a little bit on Friday Night Tights last night as well, but we, looking at the breakdown, the audience for Star Wars, we could legitimately say, has probably always been or somewhat close to 70-30 as far as percentage split. I went back to, there's a site called movio.co, and it kind of goes into breakdown by gender, by age, by actual specifically when you were born. So there's the baby boomer, Gen X. It's actually really interesting, the data they have, but it's 70-30 for the opening weekend of The Force Awakens. It was 70-30 for the opening weekend for The Last Jedi. And so I do think it's interesting that, again, they're going for this female audience, but they're not getting it. They had no growth really between any of these movies.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop them from keep on trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
They're trying to make fetch happen, and it's just not happening.
they should just get a stable and put Megan the Stallion in one of the Star Wars. Maybe make her one of the ships or something, or the Battlestar Stallion, something like that, and then maybe a female audience would come.
Yeah,
Throw
one of the
Lizzo-
female
throw-
Gamorreans, yeah.
Throw Lizzo in
Battlestar
as a Star Destroyer. That'd be fun.
She's one
Well,
of the
they-
planets.
Well, Keanu, Star Wars actually made Lizzo a space princess. In case,
Yes.
you weren't
Yep.
paying attention. But I want to throw this to Brian. Brian, why do you think Lucasfilm and Disney keep trying to court the female demographic for their primarily male-targeted movies?
Why do you always ask me these questions, Mater? I don't.
He does it to me too, dude. I understand. I feel your pain.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they keep trying to court an audience that they already have an audience.
You
They
guys
have
are
an
like,
audience.
we're right here. We're
Millions and
here.
millions
Here we
and
are.
millions. It's like,
They can-
come on, man.
Make a movie for us.
No, they're like,
Please,
no. We want the people that don't want. We want the demographic that never wanted to watch us, that make fun of the fact that our actual fans watch it. We want that demographic of people that have no interest at all in Star Wars.
It's like,
And have never historically had an interest in anything remotely close to Star Wars. And the rest of us just like, hey, what's going on? Again, I'm so over it. I'm so over it, dude. Every week with this, Cadis. Hey, what's going on? You want to talk about the new Star Wars? Dude? I don't care. Oh my God, I don't care.
I would really like to be happy about going to the store and spending some money on some cool Star Wars merch, but just doesn't happen anymore. Right?
Yeah, I got a $400 lightsaber. I got the original DVD. I got all kinds of great merch, but I haven't bought any merch for Star Wars in over a decade, and quite frankly, I am not planning to. And if someone said, "Would you watch this Rey movie?" I'm like, "No, probably not."
Go get
It's not because I'm like, I'm not going to watch it because I'm mad. I had no interest.
Yeah.
I've lost all interest in Star Wars, a franchise in which I used to read every book, every comic book, collect everything. I used to dream as a teenager. I would dream about going to a Star Wars, theme park or Star Wars hotel, some kind of themed something. I was all about Star Wars. And then this happened. And now there's an actual Star Wars theme park and I have no interest.
I know.
That is a tragedy.
I haven't been there yet. My wife's been there. My daughters have all been there. Not me.
I don't feel anything.
I don't want to go buy my Princess Power pink candle lightsaber set. It's just that stuff's not for me. So
Also, it's a demographic problem.
Lightsaber whip.
Yeah.
Lightsaber.
It's a demographic problem though for them.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I'm kind of curious, like, okay, what are some other weekends that we can look to? So the opening weekend of Barbie, right? Obviously huge film, huge, especially with the female demographic. For all the films that were out that weekend though, what would you say was the demographic split? Do you think it was predominantly men or women that weekend for its opening weekend? Like for all the films out?
it was women.
No.
For Barbie, it was.
For Barbie, yes. But for all films together, it was still 51%.
Well, that was
men
Oppenheimer.
who
That
were
was
going
Barbenheimer, right?
But still, like the fact that is like, again, the biggest opening weekend, like for a female audience in that way, even that movie, right? It was dominated. But what do you think the split was between women and men for opening weekend of Barbie? It was only 60. It was only 60-40.
Only 60-40. Yeah, you see, in that weekend, it should have gone upside down that weekend. Women should have dominated that weekend. Because let's say you're going to watch Barbie, and a lot of people we're going to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer. So a couple would go to watch both. But there's plenty of women that were like, I'm just going to go watch Barbie.
Look, here's
the upside down.
Here's what happened in my household. And so that weekend when they both came out, my wife and I went and watched Oppenheimer. Okay. Pretty good movie, it was fine, but that was what we went and watched. The next weekend, my wife, my mother-in-law, my daughter, and both my granddaughters were here, and they left my ass at home, and they all went and watched Barbie. So and that's fine. I had no problem with that. I got some me time, but I'm sure I wasn't the only person in the planet that experienced something like that. Because that's who that movie was made for. It was made for people who grew up with Barbies in their hand. And that was my girls and my granddaughters. And even my wife, I think, had one. So yeah, probably 30 of them.
I used to make the Barbies have sex with each other.
Of course you do.
Terrible. What's wrong with you?
I used to rip their heads off.
Weirdo.
You're like,
I picture Keanu. You probably had a lot of the weird Barbies, right?
No, I didn't really like toys. I would be more inclined to play with a Star Wars toy of my brothers, but I like my stroller didn't have a baby doll. I liked to carry around like office supplies. I swear to God, like notebooks and pens and things. I'm sort of an odd bird. So
All right.
for a person that was not a fan of Barbie growing up, I did like that film, but I liked more of the boy sort of.
Mhm.
Yeah, lightsabers, things like
Yeah.
that. That would be more of an interest to me. Yeah.
Right on.
I think it's
All right,
freaking heavy,
guys,
dude. It's like a bat.
We got two super chats real quick. 52 movies a year for $4.99. Disney wanted men to take their wives, daughters, or girlfriends to Star Wars, and for the women to enjoy it more than the men. Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
And Wendy Hunter, member for 3 months. If the studios would do anything that made sense, that means it won't happen because that would make sense. That's
Seems
true.
that way. It
That's
definitely
true.
seems that way.
Common sense is not very common in Hollywood. All right, guys. So we got one more thing to talk about today, and it has to do with nothing to do with Star Wars or Marvel or DC or any of that stuff you guys are sick of talking about. Instead, we're going to talk about AI in particular. There was the
Yay!
Hey man,
George
at least it's
Carlin comedy special that was entirely done by AI, and it was called "I'm Glad I'm Dead," and it was
Oh my God.
basically this is kind of fascinating. So this is a story from Los Angeles Times about it, and basically there's this YouTube channel called Dudsy, which is an AI kind of like chatbot, I guess you'd say, that was developed by two comedians. And what this did is basically they fed all of George Carlin's specials into this AI and had him mimic his voice and mimic his comedy style. And they did like a whole new stand-up special using AI generated art to go along with this thing. And they did it all without the permission of the Carlin estate, by the way. So George Carlin's daughter has come out publicly and said this is an abomination. A lot of people are encouraging her to like sue whoever is behind Dudsy. But I had a chance to watch some of the YouTube video special on this, and it was so cringe. It didn't sound like George Carlin at all. The jokes were very, very badly done, in my opinion. Some people are like, oh, like I'm a huge George Carlin fan and this guy nailed it. But it brings up broader questions as to the future of how AI can take stuff from dead celebrities and just bring them back to life and remake. Like imagine getting a whole new Beatles album. Even though like, all but like one or two are dead. Right. And also like taking like legendary actors from the past. Like imagine getting Sean Connery to come back and do a sequel to Hunt for October or a new James Bond film or something like that.
It's weird.
Like
If you put
Yeah,
Audrey Hepburn in Star Wars, I would go and see that film. So.
there you go. So there's a lot of talk about the implications of what this George Carlin special could do. Like imagine bringing Lenny Bruce back for a Netflix comedy special or something like that. There's just a lot of slippery slopes that go along with this. But I wanted to ask you guys, especially you, Keanu, because you do stand up, you tour around, you talk to a lot of different comics. What are your thoughts on like an AI completely resurrecting a dead comedian, and making a whole new comedy special for him?
I was hoping that machines wouldn't take literally all of our jobs. I
right.
was hoping for that. I haven't watched it, but I would venture to say that what comedy is timing, right? So I would hope that I can't imagine that it's actually as good as George Carlin. More like it's just interesting to watch. But not you're like it's just like he's here. But then so I'm 100% against that. Just as a
It's
comic.
not actually video of him. It's just his voice.
It's just his voice.
Yeah, they cloned his voice and wrote a script for him.
I find it odd and creepy, and his daughter thinks it's weird, and it freaks me out. I don't like it, especially for comedians. But then you did just say the Beatles, and I'm like, I would love a new Beatles album. Wow. So it's you get conflicted. I don't know if you ever saw this. I'm sure you didn't. I mean, I can't imagine if you watch the Kardashians, and I'm sorry to keep bringing them up, but Kanye for Kim's birthday one year generated an AI version of her dead father, Robert Kardashian, like a hologram, like Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay.
Can I get your help or whatever? Can I get your help, Obi-Wan? Whatever.
That's sort of cool. Like a living
Obi-Wan
photo.
Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Yes, that's it. You're my only hope. It looked like that, and it was standing there. He's like, everybody, come sit down and watch this thing. I was mortified. If somebody did that to me with a dead relative, I would be like, what the fuck is this in my living room? Please get it away. That's it. But he fed it all into the thing, and it sounded like his voice and all this stuff. They were all crying. I'm like, this is frightening to me. So I'm not really here for the AI thing. If we can put it to good use, then fine, but certainly not for comedy. No, thank you.
Well, I want to throw this to Brian because Brian, as someone who's already replaced a member of your family with AI, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's funny. Keanu's laughing. I actually have running behind me right now. I have 2 systems in my little studio, and one of them is running literally exclusively Shane 3, which is a digital version of my brother, who's also my partner on YouTube. And it's a full AI, full text generation. It is learning continually. The CPU is constantly running at like 80%, 80% of its abilities. It not only looks online, it's about 48 hours behind. So it learns everything up to about 48 hours ago, which is better than ChatGPT, which is like 2 years behind. Additionally, it does photo and now video generation. It's learning the video part right now. It takes weeks for it to learn this stuff, and it takes days for me to set it up. But it's constantly learning, and it has every single ability that anyone else would have online except for a physical body. And then I also fed it my brother's voice. My brother has a beautiful, smooth, buttery voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's very unique, and I have thousands of hours of him talking because of our YouTube, and it's all high. I have high quality studio recordings, like literally like 48-bit recordings of his voice, about 1,000 hours or so. And I fed that into the system, and I tweaked it, and I fed it, and I trained it. And after about 100 results, it started to actually sound very much like him. At around 200 epochs, which is like how many times it can train on something, at around 200 results is when his voice was pretty much indistinguishable. It sounds exactly like Shane, down to his inflections, down to the way he breathes, like almost everything. The only thing that's off is the timing is off because it's generating from text, but it does sound just like him. We even set up a channel called Shane 3 where my digital brother puts out movie reviews. And because it's learning from Shane's own writing on our Honest Pop Culture website, in addition to all of the scripts that he's written over the last 5 years, and then whatever it's learning online, it tends to have a very interesting take on something where it starts positive and then ends up really negative and mean. Almost like if Don Rickles was on Prozac. So it's like, I watched Fast X, wasn't that bad. And then, but it's gradually gets to the point where it's just completely shitting on the movie in every way. And it will write its own reviews. And right now it pumps out these little clips. And I would say about 80% of them are completely unwatchable, like just absolute messes. The scripts don't make a whole lot of sense, but 20% of them are actually pretty good. And that's what we put on the website. And every once in a while, when Shane gives me audio from one of our videos and he misspells a word, I can just pop on our AI and have the AI say that word for me and inject it into the script.
I take back what I said. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It took me almost 2 years to set it up, but yeah.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Oh my god! But it's like it's on a screen. He's not.
Yeah,
right? I mean, what does it wake you up? Does it say hi? Is there a way to take over your house?
It's running right now. I can at any moment I can talk to it. I ask it. I actually have it help me with stuff all the time. Like, hey, the other day I was looking for a font. I was like, where do I find this font for free? Give me links. And it took about 5 or 6 minutes, but it scrubbed the internet and it found me these like obscure websites that had that exact font.
Doesn't it moderate and run your Discord too?
It does. It moderates and runs our Discord. and our Discord members can talk to it. So they can ask like at Shane, hey, write me a story about a Lord of the Rings meets Darth Vader.
Yeah,
And it will just be like, all right, buddy. And we'll just write him a quick little story, or because they can ask it questions. One time, the best question was like, what do you think about Brian? Referring to me. And I was like, listen, as my creator, I don't remember exactly, I'm paraphrasing. But he said, as my creator, I'm glad he's here, but I don't really think of him as an equal. And it said that like straight up. And people, it was really funny.
What happens if you crank him up over 80%? Never do that, by the way.
I think the computer will turn on, set on fire.
Oh, okay.
Catch on fire instantly. I don't have the processing ability to give it anymore. I was actually talking to my actual brother Shane about that. When I retire my current system that I'm using, I might upgrade Shane with that, because right now it's running on an AMD like 5th generation, has like probably about 128 gigs of RAM. It has and it's a very fast computer, and has an extremely fast connection. It has a double 1 gig up, 1 gig down connection. So it has all the abilities, but even then it's still constantly at like just hovering at 80%. Just it's almost like heat throttling itself.
I think some computer company like NZXT or Alienware or something should watch our video and send you a new computer just for Shane.
Yeah,
So.
I don't know, man. Everyone worried about AI, and I'm sitting over here with something I've been working on for almost 2 years.
AI cannot be any dumber than humans are.
Yeah, it's not as scary as people think it is.
All I'm imagining is the Disney Channel original movie Smart House.
Yes.
Where the house takes over and she gets smart, and then she turns against them, and then they're stuck in there for a long time. Is there a chance that your computer brother can turn against you?
So
yeah.
Shane 3 has already replaced my Google Home as my home manager. It has, because it's easier to set up. So like I have smart plugs for a lot of things, and I can have it on. Google allows you to turn on and off, but it doesn't really allow you to do like smart timers. Like you can give it a timer, but you can't. But the timer will never learn. It will just turn on or off at this time or whatever. With Shane 3, it can actually take the temperature. Like, so my day job, we run a merch company, and there's a chemical that we use called vinyl chloride that has to be mixed all the time. Well, this thing can actually take the temperature of that and turn the pump on or off, depending on what the temperature is outside and what the temperature of our mix is, so that it constantly keeps this thing mixed. And it saves me a ton of money and time, because I used to have to go down there every day and manage that, like control what's the temperature at, what's the pH at, let me adjust that. But now I could just have Shane 3 do it with nothing but a simple smart plug.
So you just outsourced yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just cut somebody's job, yours.
With Shane, I can do it with a $20 smart plug. With something like Google Home, you got to buy like $400 worth of equipment to do that exact same thing. But with nothing but a simple $20 smart plug that allows Shane to have control over that particular device, that's all I need for it to. And then obviously data inputs, like it reads the temperature. I
want to ask a question to the panel, just kind of in the same vein, but so like there's a new AI powered hologram thing coming out for Elvis that's going to be touring around, and is that something that people are going to want to buy tickets to go see? Is that something you guys would pay to go see? It's supposed to be a completely new show, starring Elvis.
Why
who's
not?
a hologram, who's AI powered. He's going to be able to interact with the crowd and do all kinds of stuff, as far as I know. I mean, something like that would be crazy here.
It's not
in
Elvis,
Las
though.
Vegas.
It's not Elvis. It's a new thing.
I would say, what's the difference between that and going to see an Elvis impersonator?
Right.
Yeah.
There really is no difference. But
So
I want to throw.
this is okay. So no interest from anybody on the panel. Nobody wants to go watch that.
I mean, I would go watch that for sure, but like it's more fascination, less of an Elvis fan, and more like I want to see what they're able to do with this.
I have an odd curiosity, like what? Yeah,
Right,
how?
right.
At least, yeah, not
Like AI is not creative. Like even with all the capabilities that I have set up for my AI, it's literally running on a dedicated system, has access to to multiple Python servers on the internet. It has all the connections it can need to be as useful as possible to me, the Discord group, and my actual brother Shane. Even then, 80% of what it spits out is sort of garbage. It's not good. And then the 20% that is good requires, tinkering and, adjustments, and has to have adjustments all the time. It does a lot of cool stuff, but it's not really creative. And even though it's learning, it's still at it's like at the third grade level at best, and while it can mimic smarter people, it's not actually as smart as people think it is.
I want to see.
And speaking of smart people, I want to throw this to Odin real quick, because Odin, a big part of the actors and writers strike was over how AI is used in the industry. But if you have YouTubers who just go and completely ignore those contracts and those rules and just start making their own stuff using, people who are either dead or alive, how does that impact entertainment and the industry at large?
It's going to have a huge impact on the courts, I would say, because there's going to be a big question about what is fair use and what is not fair use, right? Because if you were able to somehow create something, as far as a voice or the image of a person, right? I think the George Carlin story kind of, goes to that as well. There's going to have to be that ultimate question of, does fair use also protect using AI to create certain things? I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And also as AI technology continues to develop, there's going to be also questions of when do you, how do you find the difference between something that is real and something that is AI? I think that's something that's obviously been an issue or something that's been concerned for a long time now. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think there's a bit of comedic, irony to this as well, because you think about what the actors in Hollywood did to themselves by having that strike at one of the worst times that they could possibly have had the strike.
Worst time, yeah.
And a big portion of it was AI. And if they are, after all of that, still going to have issues with AI because of people outside of their world and outside of their control, I don't know. Part of me was like, that would be a little bit delicious to me. So, yeah.
That certainly would be very delicious. And we got a members chat from Danny's mom, Penny, for 9 months. Thank you, Penny. I swear she always rides those gifted subs. Somehow she always gets included in those.
Oh.
But she says, I was a tomboy. I tore the heads off all my Barbies.
I did the same. Yes.
Yes.
A lot of Barbie heads in my house too. Yep.
And this isn't a super chat, but we wanted to highlight this one from Gasso. AI invented the paper straw.
Perfect.
So I wanted you guys to see that, because that's actually not true. The paper straw was invented by Marvin Stone or something like that. But the thing is, what it did invent was how to wrap the paper straw. So when everyone said, let's stop using plastic straws and let's readopt these stupid paper straws that fall apart in your mouth the second you use them, they tried to get AI to make a sustainable packaging for the paper straws, and AI chose a plastic wrapping. So let's save plastic straws. Now we have paper straws wrapped in plastic when we used to have plastic straws wrapped in paper. That was the turn away.
That's funny.
Yes. If anyone needs proof that Satan does exist, just look at paper straws.
Paper straws are the worst.
I swear to God, they are the worst. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my expert panel of nerds for being on here and sharing their insights with us. Odin, when are you going to see your best friend Vivek next? And what do you got going on your channel?
Well, I really hope we can somehow get him on Friday Night Tights for like a full show. That'd be awesome. It'd be really cool. He's one of those few like people that's involved in politics that actually has a grasp of pop culture. So we mentioned MCU to him last night, and he didn't get that right away. But as soon as we mentioned just even a little bit about what we meant, he said he was immediately like, "Oh yeah, you mean the demasculinization of characters in film?" And we're like, "Yes, okay, he gets it. He's a smart guy. He's in the culture." But anyway, you can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, all the places. Obviously, you can follow me over on X and Criticless, which is a fantastic site. I have the Raven Award nominations coming up this Tuesday. So very excited for that. We try to stay as in line with the Oscars because we are boycotting the Oscars because it's become stupid nonsense. So this is our 6th annual show, and I'm getting some final nominations figured out. So I'm excited to go further into that. And check me out also over at geeksandgamers.com, where I'll be starting to, I have a second article already in the pipe, almost finished, talking more about my box office, just methodology. And starting either this or next Sunday, I'll actually have my weekly box office breakdown column over on Geeks and Gamers. So check that out.
Yep. And the Salty Nerd will be hosting a pineapple pizza party for the big reveal of the Raven Awards. See who the winners are. Keanu Thompson, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah,
You
thanks,
were
Keanu.
fantastic.
Thank
as
you.
usual. Do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
First of all, thank you so much. This was so much fun. You helped me awaken my inner nerd, and I'm trying to do it more and more every day. This really
Is that
was
the guy you keep in the back of your house?
Yeah.
Did we wake him up?
He's AI. I created
He's
him. No, but I'm going to be opening in Dallas, opening for Chrissy Mayer along with Lila Hart in Dallas on the 25th at Hyenas Comedy Club. You can come see me there. Other than that, Keanu C. Thompson on Instagram and Twitter, and Keanu C. Thompson on YouTube. My show is Keanu Cast. It's live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This week it will be Monday as I'm traveling. So Monday, something Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's Keanu C. Thompson. Come and have fun with us. I believe you fine gentlemen will be joining me here coming soon. So your fans can look forward to that. And then we'll talk about nothing but girly stuff and the Kardashians.
Yes. I can't wait to watch that one.
We're very happy to be a part of the Keanu Cast on the last Tuesday of January. It will be all 4 salty nerds there, hopefully. And
it's gonna be a bacchanal.
You're gonna love Jude. I think you two will get along just fine. And quick note: Chrissy Mayer is doing stand up for 2 nowadays, so be sure to pay double for her tickets when you go see her. Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you and Shane or Shay AIN?
Yeah, the Shane is spelled SHAIN3. It was the 3rd version. The first 2 versions were disastrous. Didn't work at all. You can find us on Discord. Go check out the Shane bot. He's it's an actual AI, and you can talk to it, and it's pretty cool. You can also find us at the Popcast and the new name for our channel, or our secondary channel, Pop Culture Unleashed. And we should have a big video coming out at the end of this week, assuming my actual brother Shane gets me the script by today.
Very good. And Matt Vader 74, any final thoughts, and what do we got going on this week?
What do we got going on this week? We got Saltcast IRL on Tuesday coming up at noon, right? Noon, I think. And then
Undecided.
And then we'll have another members live stream immediately following that. Other than that, I don't think we have a whole heck of a lot going on other than our live streams. I want to thank Keanu for being here again. Thank you so much. It's nice to break up the monotony of the 5 white bearded guys show, so hopefully come back and hang out with us, and
Anytime. I love this.
bring Lila with you next time. That might be kind of fun
will.
too. That would be a hoot. So
Hell yeah.
I don't know what else we got. Do we have anything else going on other than the live stream this week?
No, not really. It's a pretty light end of the first month of the year for us. But we want to give a big shout out to everyone who dropped super chats on today's live stream. We got Mexican Iron Man, the Joker's Voice, Fluffy Panda, Magnus Toth, and Lover of Green. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for your support. This is one of the reasons why we do this, is to not only cater to the community, but also get the support from the community to try and get Matt Vader some decent health insurance so he can get rid of his rheumatoid arthritis, all that fun stuff. Anyway, guys, thank you all for being here today. Tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel, for more nonsense with the Salty Nerd panel. And until then, stay salty, my friends.